All right. Hello, everybody. This is Josh, also known as Yashu, and you're tuning into TLOY Talks, episode 6. And today we have Will Ryan, who's also a Twitch streamer, musician, and educator as well. So, Will, how are you doing today?
Not too bad, Josh. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I've been checking out like your stuff on like SoundCloud, and like it's like very dope to hear, just with the unique sounds, with the layout, with the playlists, month by month, episode by episode, like photo by photo. And I think before you do it like every Friday, like on like Twitch, and you posted like the song like on every Friday. So like even like you can do the Twitch part and then you do the SoundCloud part. So it's kind of like an interesting sense on how you like lay out.
Yeah, and it's also yeah, exactly. It's been a challenge to try and get music out every Friday. I've been actually like turning down some record label interest and stuff like that because it's going to slow the process down. They want to work with other people, but by working alone, I can kind of move at my own pace. And like so the song a week concept is mostly it was born out of trying to do it for educational purposes is like show people what the process is to start at nothing, scratch, blank screen, no lyrics, no anything, write all the words, write all the instruments, do the mix, the master, all of the tracking live in front of people so they can see what's going on. Right? That's the concept. And funny enough, I've been making more money making the music than the music makes, right? So like I have 100,000 streams on SoundCloud. That's like what 30 cents, or whereas like you get $3 for a subscription on Twitch. So it's just like the economics make more sense this way. It's been an interesting project.
Yeah, no, definitely, I definitely agree. And since you're based out of Toronto, where our podcast is from too, so where did you grow up in Toronto, and what was the environment like growing up there?
So I moved here when I was 18 to study music, and I lived in the West End. I'm currently more towards the Midtown area now, but yeah, so I've been here for like over a decade. So I've been trying to learn music, be in the music industry here in the city. But before that, I was a military brat. I grew up on military base. My dad was a fighter pilot for the Canadian Forces, and so I kind of like lived all around the world. Lived in Germany, um, and then moved to like north of the city, let's say, into the burbs when I was in high school. And then, did my high school growing up in the burbs, thought that was the weirdest thing in the world to go from like all these different places to somewhere where all the houses looked the same. Everyone had the same little white dog. There's the same white SUV. It's like, am I in a Tim Burton movie? What is this? So yeah, that was a trip. And then moving to the city was like big eye opener. It was like, oh, there's culture here. There's like, it's not just a monoculture. There's all these multiculturals happening. I had sushi for the first time. I was like, this is wild.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. Even with the whole like military aspect, I don't know if your parents wanted you to join the military at one point in your life, or were they?
I did cadets. It was not for me. I don't respond well to authority.
Oh, true. So like, like even like with the commander and like the general, like who would run the program, like in that sense, too, like the educators, were they like as strict as like the commanders and generals, like on Full Metal like Jacket and all that, or was it like a different type of vibe in that sense?
Well, so like I did this like boot camp training thing in high school, which was like basic officer training, but it was dumbed down for high school kids because we're useless. But yeah, so it's a lot of like physical training. It's a lot of like demoralization. They're trying to strip you of your personality and to build you back up to follow their orders and to see the world their way. It's like hierarchy and bureaucracy and it's chain of command, man.
No doubt. I mean, it's not for everybody too, but like it's kind of like an interesting like aspect in that sense too, because I saw like Full Metal Jacket like maybe like years ago, and I don't know if it could be comparable to like what you see today in.
It's not. It's fiction, right? It's not that bad, but it is. They're there to try and reprogram you, and they do want to like make sure that you're a good asset to them. Essentially, you're a good worker.
No doubt. So like your childhood might have been like very like interesting in that sense too, because you went to like all over the world. So you went to like Germany, I
A lot of Europe, yeah, a lot of Europe, all over Canada, yeah. So little bits in the States.
true. So I guess like your childhood was like interesting growing up in that sense, or what?
Moving every 3 months, always trying to like make friends temporarily. It's probably why I liked being a musician and up front of like a crowd full of friends for the night.
No doubt. So I also saw like a photo of you on I think on SoundCloud. Like it was something of you like playing like hockey, or like it was like a hockey like portrait.
Yeah, I grew up pretty athletic. Yeah, I like just to play sports, and like the pandemic's been really hard for me. I feel like I'm a little out of shape, but it's because I don't have a home gym and I can't do gym. Gym is not the thing for me. I like to have a sport, something like, I don't know, engaging, where it tricks me into working out. I don't like to run, but put a soccer ball on a field, I'll run all day. So it's that works for me.
So I think in that position, did you play like defender or forward or?
Yeah, so when I was playing rep hockey, I played D, defense, and then I in high school like didn't grow as fast as the other kids. They grew much faster than I did, and so I ended up getting rocked pretty hard in a tryout. I think it was grade 9, and I just like I spiral fractured my leg, and just decided that it wasn't worth it. And then it was actually probably pretty serendipitous because my parents, I think, felt bad, bought me an electric guitar and got me some electric guitar lessons. And I was taking classical piano, and music wasn't really like my primary focus in grade 9. But there was kind of like a pivotal moment where I get this instrument that sounds like the music that I was listening to at the time. And I was like, so I was really into like guitar and classic rock and all that stuff that like, plays at the beginning of the hockey. That was my primary exposure to music. So I get this guitar and I was like, oh, this is the rest of my life. This is what I'm doing. This song, I can make things sound like I hear on the radio. This is great.
Yo, no doubt, no doubt. So I know that you said that you like didn't like really like move to Toronto until like 18, but I don't know if you've seen like all the channels like during the 90s with like in Toronto, or like even in Ontario or Canada with like YTV, Teletoon, like Family
Much
Channel.
music, all that
Yeah,
good stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
definitely saw a lot of
true.
that.
So how would you rank your Canadian-based cartoon channels like in that sense?
Teletoon at night is number one, obviously. And then Much Music. And they were better earlier, and then they kind of like decreased a little bit as they started putting on more reality TV, and it just became garbage slowly over time. Then YouTube's like a solid, like after school. I used to watch a lot of Dragon Ball Z on YouTube. Or sorry, on YTV, YouTube.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, for me, like how I would rank it, YTV at like number one. I'd say Family Channel at like number two
Oh,
because they had
Family
like
Channel.
yeah, they had
Yeah, I
like
forgot
some
about them.
because they had the Disney like syndication, and then I'd say Teletoon at number three too. Just kind of on and off because like YTV like they had like a lot of like Nickelodeon based shows that were all over the place, like very dope. Then you have your Canadian based content like Yukon, like Yvonne of the Yukon, and
So
also
good. That was
yeah,
such a good show.
yeah, sticking around as well too. Like that was also like very dope. And I think Angela Anaconda was I think on Teletoon. I think just off the strength, and then you have like the one with like the superheroes. Like I just like recently did like a little bit more research on that. Like I think it was on Teletoon too, so that was also pretty dope. I think there's Treehouse too, where they had like Molly, like like
Mm,
the big comfy couch with
yeah, big comfy couch.
yeah, yeah,
Good stuff, man. Yeah, that hits me right in the nostalgias. It's kind of funny though. So my early exposure to cartoons was like a time warp. Growing up on military bases, we didn't have like, especially in Germany, for example, where I was there for 3 years. Um, we didn't have YTV and those kinds of things. So there was like this underground VHS trading system amongst like all the military moms. And they just like wanted to have all these cassettes, and we or like VHS, and we would record shows and stuff like that and then send them over to all these military bases. I grew up on like things like He-Man, Masters of the Universe, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like, but I shouldn't have. Those were like 80s cartoons that I was just seeing in like the mid 90s.
no doubt, man. Nah, I definitely know what you mean. I think for us, because there weren't like some shows like that were on like Teletoon or like YTV, like like Dexter's like Laboratory, like
Oh,
Johnny
so good.
Bravo,
Yeah, yeah.
all that type of stuff. Like
Johnny Bravo. It's
yeah,
been a while.
uh, you literally have to like for us, we had to like literally go to the states to like watch these shows. Like even Hey Arnold too, because they only allowed like certain shows at that time, like SpongeBob with I think
Yeah, yeah.
Rugrats sometimes
Rugrats.
too. Yeah,
I
yeah,
was gonna say
yeah,
Rugrats, Recess. There's
yeah,
so many good ones, and like
yeah.
I know that it's weird because it's all coming back now. They're getting reboots, all of them. It's like, oh man, my childhood's getting rebooted. Ah.
Yeah. Yeah, they used to actually like have like some good movies on Family Channel. Like one of my favorite ones that I actually found it from Family Channel was Angus, which had Kathy Bates and a whole lot of other cast. It's like this kid named Angus who was dealing with like weight issues and self-esteem in high school. So he had to build up the courage to ask his childhood crush to the prom, and then he had this other enemy like there that always had issues with him because of his crush. And like yeah, it was like an interesting story too. Just even with the directing and everything else too, that was great. They would have like Cheetah Girls. They would have Cadet Kelly with Hilary Duff, who was on there, who played like Lizzie McGuire, but she played Kelly in Cadet Kelly. That was also pretty dope. And a whole lot of other stuff too. Like I'd say like with those three, like they're like the more interesting ones. So yeah.
For real. And then like these kid shows, or some of them are genius. Like some of the more recent ones, Adventure Time, for example, so good. It's like who comes up with this? Oh, I almost swore again. Who comes up with this stuff?
Yeah, no doubt. No, I get what you mean. So you already talked about your introduction to music, but what inspired you to get into music and create it also?
I come from a pretty musical family, so like my uncle was in a big '90s band, a Canadian '90s band. If you guys know the Tea Party, remember them? He was the one of the guys in the Tea Party. So I come by it pretty naturally, and it's like been in my life since I was little. I started taking piano at 4. It was natural for me to go into it. Nobody was surprised. Uh,
That's like kind of like interesting in that sense too. Like I've had this other guest, not at TLY Talks, but like on the TLOY interview platform, Emily Brumlow, who's a Vancouver-based, now USA, like residing, like singer-songwriter. She actually had like her father play like in some bands like in the 80s and 90s, like Canadian-based bands, and hearing their like his experiences from the perspective of herself, like it was kind of interesting to know like how like families can go like a long way like within being.
well, parents are your number one teacher. They're your first teacher, right? So it makes sense that if your parents are something, that you're going to inherit some of that behavior. It just makes sense.
Yeah, no doubt. So I guess growing up or like even like now, like did you listen to like any like certain artists or genres that you have?
I I listen to everything. I studied jazz music at university. I studied saxophone. So like I literally listen to everything. I started playing classical music, love rap, love rock, love country music, love folk. I love experimental stuff, indie, you name it. I love it. There's something good in all genres. You just got to look for it.
Yeah, no doubt. So so no, I just had to get like my state of mind here for a bit. Um so the instrument of your choice at the time, I guess it was the guitar, like when it came to making music. And
It Yeah, it's the one that kind of inspired me and to like really take it seriously and get into songwriting. I think it was the most useful songwriting tool. Piano is also very useful. It's like it was more useful because it was the only instrument that talked to the computer, but now the computer can do everything. Like MIDI was a language for a long time, and so like you could plug a keyboard into a computer and start making some EDM, and that's been that way for a while. That's why I was getting a lot of calls from piano lessons. But recently I started noticing that the guitar was coming back, and that being the thing that's like really nostalgic and really inspiring to me, it made me like really want to get out and make some guitar music again. It's these guys like Travis Barker from Blink. It's like he's doing this huge resurgence right now in hip hop, and it's really cool, and I love to see it.
Yeah.
More guitar.
Yeah, no doubt. So I got the thought back. So you said that you learned more about jazz like in university. I don't know if you like played like in a quartet or like in a certain like
Got a weird story. I played in a porn rock band for a while. That was weird. It was this new concept where they played at strip clubs, and they played like these reworded versions of Frank Zappa songs and all this weird music, very well instrumented. And like some of the bigger artists in Canada had members in this band called Wank Punter. I dropped out because they wanted me to quit university and like, just go on tour with them to all the adult entertainment places, or like not adult entertainment, like conferences. Sorry, that's what I was looking for. The adult conferences, and like play at strip clubs along the way. I regret it. No, I quit. And I was like, no, this is nothing. It's like, it's a fun concept, but it's not going anywhere. It was like a couple months later, they're playing at the Playboy Mansion. I was like, I think I made a mistake.
yeah, no doubt. So like you performed at like actual like strip clubs like in
Yeah.
Toronto.
Yeah. And like, dude, nothing harder than doing a sax solo while you've got some naked girl grinding on your suit, and you're just like, I gotta dry clean this after, because they made the horn section dress up like the Blues Brothers. It's
Yeah,
so
that
funny.
that's like pretty crazy because like I know Toronto they kind of have like some like limited strip clubs. They have I think Zanzibar like on Yonge, and then they have Fillmore's.
So it was Fillmore's, but now it's the Broadview Hotel or something. Like, what did that turn into? They gentrified it. It's something new now.
Yeah. I think so. I didn't really check it out. I know there's like also like the brass like rail too, but those were like the only ones.
Yeah, it's a dying dude. Why pay for it in real life when you can just get it for free on the internet? Like, it's why they died. It's the same reason most things die. It's because the internet just does it cheaper and better, more convenient.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm not gonna lie. I think like even with Toronto, I think like even with the whole like adult like entertainment scene, it's only big like within certain aspects, either through like Backpage or even through like OnlyFans, like in that sense too, because
I was just gonna say, it's like the adult industry is maybe one of the most innovative industries in the world. Like, you think about what I'm doing live streaming, like I'm just a cam girl, but I'm just doing music instead of like shaking it, It's the same thing. People are throwing money at me to play songs. You flex my perfect pitch to learn a track in like 30 seconds. It feels very much like Dance Monkey, It's like people just like throwing bits at you and stuff. But like the music industry isn't lucrative enough to take the risk 20 years ago to invest in cameras and like get all the right computer to stream something, because that stuff was expensive 15 years ago. So like these cam girls were like, investing some money, but the return was good. It's just now like I already have most of this gear. I was using it to gig. I can just flip around and like use it on a live stream because the gear is cheap. The technology is amazing.
yeah. Nah, I get what you mean. I think it also depends on like what would be suitable like for a budget too, because I know for me, like if I have like gear needed for a podcast or for an interview, I would look for like a very decent product, but also it would be like long lasting in that sense too. So with the Samsung Q2U with the like I think like my camera that I just recently bought, like not the camera, but like the cam like the laptop camera that you usually have like the external one. It was like a Razer like Keo. I bought that like a while back. Like it's like 1080p, like very dope for people to view you. It's not like the internal one like where people can see you and it looks kind of like crudted out like in that sense. So yeah.
Yeah. And again, like, what did it cost? Probably next to nothing compared to like what a camera used to cost.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no
it's
doubt.
pretty amazing.
Yeah. But like just like even back on this like whole like adult entertainment like scene in Toronto, I think the only ones that I said like right now were like only like what OnlyFans stuff like on Backpage, and then I guess some like porn in Toronto. Like those were like the only ones. But then if you can compare like the Toronto like outdoor like adult entertainment scene like with strip clubs and all that type of stuff versus what you see in like the United States, like
Yeah, I was gonna say Miami. I've played a couple shows there, and it's like, it's like every other thing is a strip club. What the hell?
Even Atlanta too. Like Atlanta would be
Atlanta,
like
yeah,
the biggest hub for
Vegas,
strip
right?
clubs. Like I think if you really want to immerse yourself like in that whole like strip club scene, like Atlanta's like definitely the one. But you could also do like more like in Arizona, in California, like all other places too. Toronto, like most girls who aren't interested in that scene too, they're gonna have to move to other locations to make their money. Like in Vancouver, I think Vancouver and like other parts of BC, like they have like a good like strip club scene there. Other places like out west, like where people have like expendable money, like like long lasting money for a while because of like the whole like oil trade stuff too. Like they're gonna spend their money easily regardless, and that's like where the actual like money comes from. Like Toronto, like in terms, if you want to,
There's some money here too, though, dude. There's lots. There's some crazy rich folks.
yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much. So I think, but some like I think they either go OT or they do it kind of like privately in that sense to like host.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And like the States does it so much better than we do. They're just like, I don't know, I guess more ready to objectify and just like party harder. Everything to the max.
Uh,
It's just cool. I respect it.
yeah, pretty much, yeah. So just getting back onto the music side too, what is your actual creative process when making music?
Creative process. Oh, I like this question. Right now, it's actually been kind of cool to do the Twitch stuff because it's collaborative. And when I was growing up, I was, military brat moving around and very much alone, like temporarily making friends, but never like in a place long enough to make a band or like, lasting friendships of people I'd want to write with or something like that. So music was like kind of used, especially in my earlier days, as a way to escape. And I was writing music like probably grade six. I was writing my first songs. Um, and yeah, so it's always been like a kind of expression and like a diary. And so it's been interesting to do the Twitch thing because it still looks like a diary. I can look back on this song a week and be like, that was the week of the Olympics. We did a sports anthem theme. And that was but now it's not an expression from me. It's an expression of us. It's like arguably I'm making the songs worse by incorporating a lot of people's input. But I think that's something beautiful in that it's maybe a little worse, but it's inclusive. And like maybe if we did that with our society, that would be a little bit better too. Is maybe make it a little bit worse, but at least everybody can participate.
No doubt. So like with the Toronto music scene in all aspects, whether it's rock or EDM or rap, how do you feel about like the music scene in Toronto so far?
It's been good. There's lots of places to play, although they are dying. When I moved here, in there was just so many venues, and it was a bigger thing to go see live music. But I also think that that's something to do with the instrumentation, right? It's like live music, it's more fun to see a band, I think, than it is to see a DJ if you're in the mindset of seeing a performance. If you're in the mindset of I want to party, then going to see a DJ or an MC or something like that, it's gonna lay the vibe down and you're gonna have a good time with your buds. But like when I was younger, I'd want to go see music just to see it performed. And I think that that kind of died for a while. And I have this theory, it's called the pendulum theory, where we go between two different extremes in our music focus. We go between production, which was where we've been for like the last 15 years, and like performance, which is like that very 90s, like just scream and like just play the guitar, or like the 70s or blues music, right? But we flip flop back and forth between these focuses, and our technology is getting so good with the laptops and everything that we've been focusing really, really hard on making everything perfect. And now we're starting to just come back to the other side where performance and like the personality and like some flaws are okay. And I like that. And that's like the epitome of the guitar. The guitar is not a perfect sounding instrument. Those strings are a little bit out of tune. You can never play them or like snap them to scale or to time like you can a keyboard. Just quantize it and it's done. So the guitar is just a little bit more raw, and I think that that's coming back. And I want to see that after the pandemic and all the closures, and I want to see more live music, and I want to go back and experience performances again.
Yeah, and I definitely know what you mean. Like for me, like before I did the whole like podcasting interview type stuff, I was doing like more like concept photography and like videography in that sense too. And I actually just went back for the first time shooting an event at the Drake Hotel for a buddy of mine who had like another group that was hosting this event, you know, like a virtual like live stream show. And it had Dadson, who is like a well-known producer like out in Windsor.
Yeah, I know
um
Datsun.
yeah, he actually, one thing that I noticed, like he would remake certain songs like in production wise from, you know, themes from television shows. So like he did it with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I've seen it actually live. It was actually
That's
amazing. And
so
then
cool.
and also with The Price is Right too, like that was also pretty dope. And then there was like a couple other artists too, and I just get like the vibe, like even if there weren't like many people in the room, you know, in terms of it being
But
an
he's a
actual.
performer, you know? Like
Yeah,
that's a performance. Like what he's doing is really cool. He's also really good at playing those push pads, like the finger drummy things. He's
yeah,
really talented.
yeah. Too. And then like I think when COVID hit, like I'm not gonna lie, so like the last show that I actually, like an actual show that I actually shot in Toronto before the pandemic hit was Ali Brooke out of Fifth Harmony, which had like Camila, like Lauren
Yeah, yeah,
Jorady,
yeah, yeah.
Armani. And you know,
Cool.
it was like still like a small show. Like, you know, when I went there, it was only like maybe 20, 30 people like at the show. And it was actually at the Mod Club, you know, just before it turned into, you know, the Axis Club, which I'm not gonna say the
I
Axis
know.
Club, but
I miss the mod club. It's I still call it the Sky Dome, dude.
yeah, but like that
What the
show
fuck is
was,
the Rogers Center?
yeah, but
I'm
yeah,
sorry, I
like
swear.
yeah, no worries, no worries. Like I agree with you. Like I wouldn't call like like I wouldn't call the Scotiabank Arena like, you know, anything else. I'd rather just call it the Air Canada Center. Like that's how we know it as. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yo, the whole like Ali Brooke thing, like it was 30 of her actual fans that loved like her music, that loved her sound, and you know the vibe and the performance that she gave. She had like men on stage, you know, like as her dancers, and you just get like a dope creative vibe when you see artists like do their thing in that sense too. And
Exactly. Yeah.
like, you know, it's something that a lot of people have missed like when they came back. I know like lately now, like in Toronto, like Maroon 5 just had their first actual like Canadian show like in Toronto, like with Black Bear at Budweiser stage, formerly known as like the Molson Amphitheater too. And like a lot of like dope Canadian acts like performed at like other venues too. But yeah, like I do feel like live music might go back to normal if we practice like social distancing, you know, wear masks, and you know, just
COVID passport, the vaccine passport that's coming to Toronto. Like that'll maybe help some live shows come back. I'm hoping. That was like a large part of my income before the pandemic was playing live gigs and then having that go to zero and like panicking is like how do I go to people's houses to teach or I got to figure out the online thing. I was like I'm really good with the music technology stuff, but like figuring out this video thing was tough.
yeah, I think, you know, it just takes, you know, getting used to in that sense too. Like with me, when I started out like doing like video interviews, I was just doing like in person like video interviews mainly with Toronto artists. But like when I'm reaching out to someone from a different country or from a different area, like sometimes, you know, you have to like learn how to use Zoom, you have to learn how to use like Skype, learn how to make your thing more like viewable, like in that sense too, like, you know, visually like appealing for people to view, for people to find out like how to edit properly too. Like sometimes you do have to like realize that too, like it comes with like a lot of work when,
It was a
you know,
ton of trial and error,
uh
tons of it. Yeah.
yeah, no doubt. This is kind of like unrelated, like in that sense too, but DJ Academics, like earlier in the year, he did like a whole Toronto-based podcast with the ideal Toronto like rappers that he had, like with Top Five, who was recently tried for murder, YG, who beat a case just a while back too. I'd guess Toronto's like First Lady Chromas, if you know what I mean, and then a whole lot of like other people too. I don't know if you like watched that by any chance.
No, I didn't, but it was yeah. dude. There's some talent there. It's crazy how much talent's in this city. It's crazy.
I feel that too. Like I think in that sense too, like Toronto, like in that sense too, is like sort of like divided, like in certain like genres and industries too, based on like leverage and not nepotism, but like more like who's gonna get you for the door versus am I gonna do it on my own? Because like when you see people like Top Five, YG, Chromas, they're literally doing it like on their own in that sense too. And then you have people like Mustafa the poet, Jess Cartier, this female rapper by the name of like Charmaine, and anyone affiliated with like Factor,
Charmaine.
SoCan. Well,
Yeah.
that's like one other scene, and then you'll have like multiple other scenes too, like EDM scene, your rock scene, your like classical, like
The EDM scene's really cool here. I like Zed's Dead, you know? They're cool, man. There's some really great music out of the city. Out of Canada in general, but like I feel often it gets swept under the rug in comparison to other places like States or the UK. Like they get a lot of shine. Things that are coming out of there are pretty hip.
all right. I'm gonna move over to part two now because I think you already talked about like how you decided to take music more seriously, like with school, with everything else too, with being in a band.
Yeah, I was doing it for a while, dude. I was signed in a band that was singing, and yeah, we were doing really, really well, opening up for some pretty big people. The Roots, Moneen, Ill Scarlet, Bedouin Soundclash. Like these are some bigger names that we were getting some support slots for. And I started losing my voice at 26, and it unfortunately was took a while to diagnose. I got dropped from my label, but I ended up getting vocal cord cancer, which was crazy for a singer to come down with like that kind of specific cancer. Went through radiation therapy and just starting to sing again. So like that's where the inspiration to kind of do the song a week kind of came back. It was like, my voice is actually at a point now where I'm able to use it again in song. It's not fatiguing as quickly, and it's like doing stretches and trying really hard to get it back. But it's finally at the point now where I think I can melodyne it and tune it enough that it sounds good enough.
No doubt. I didn't even know that you could actually get like vocal cord cancer. Like I know you can get like throat cancer or like lung
Yeah,
cancer in that sense too, but like
literally right on the vocal cord. And doctors think that it was asbestos exposure. Don't know where from. I have some suspicions, but
yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
asbestos, crazy.
yeah. I mean also too like with secondhand smoke too, like I know like if you're even like exposed to like people smoking like on the street too, like and you just can't get away from it, like you can have like higher chances of getting like throat cancer or lung cancer.
Hmm.
Like in that sense too, like just like even like inhaling it.
Oh, definitely don't smoke, kids. Don't do that. I did it. I was smoking between like the ages of 19 and 25, so it was probably not helping my case. Let's say that. But yeah, definitely quit smoking. Bad stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. So for people who may not be aware of your music, how do you describe your music to other people like listening for the first time?
Oh, interesting. I like to make nostalgic music. I want to make music that I would have liked when I was in high school or something like that. That's where I'm at now with my music, and I don't want to make any other kinds of music. Just stuff that's fun and kind of gives you that throwback. It's like, oh yeah, this is good. This is the stuff that I used to like. Because we really don't get enough of that. It's like everyone's trying to push the cutting edge, and I wanna be that that nostalgic thing. It's it is what it is. It's easier to produce a song a week that way as well. It's really hard to be cutting edge and experimental and right on the cusp of newness and trying to push out a song a week. That would be really, really hard.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we already discussed this earlier on SoundCloud versus like Twitch, but why SoundCloud instead of like Spotify or YouTube or
Great question. Yeah, great question. So I chose Spotify, or sorry, to not release on Spotify because there's a time delay. So I upload the song on SoundCloud literally on the stream. And if you want to, you can try and race me to it and get the first play on it and grab it, or comment first and stuff like that. But it gets uploaded on stream, and then people can go listen to it immediately after. And that's important to some people. The regulars that I have on my stream, so they say the song gets in their head, and it's like, I don't know, maybe Twitch doesn't pump it out as loud or as like high quality audio as you would get on something like a SoundCloud or Audius. I also put my music up on Audius. We'll talk about that in a second. It's a great platform. But SoundCloud, again, it's one of these things where you can just upload it and it's right there right away, no waiting, and I can share it and it's social media enhanced. Spotify is kind of not as social media engaged yet. And I do have plans to release on Spotify, but I want it to be something that's a little bit more final instead of these demos that I'm making on Twitch.
Yeah, no doubt. And
So Audius, have you heard of Audius? Do you know about this?
I mean, I saw it like from your page for the first time when we linked up. I felt it was kind of more of a similar approach to like SoundCloud, but I guess kind of different, like in the layout and the web
So
mechanics.
I've made money on Audius. That's a thing that I haven't been able to do on SoundCloud. Even though I have like 100,000 streams on SoundCloud, I've made pennies. Whereas Audius, I have like under 1,000 streams and I've made almost $100. Now I was in it at the right time. I'm always kind of like cutting edge like this. I want to be the world's first Web3 artist, where like the audience is influencing and supporting, like funding the art, and it does like this big circles, like they support and help create the music that I make, which then they listen to and then help support, and the circular ecosystem of music making, as opposed to funneling it out Spotify and hoping somebody picks it up on their algorithm, or puts it on their playlist or something. I don't like that business model, so I'm trying something a little bit new. But the cool thing about Audius is that they pay out in their cryptocurrency. So they have their own token and they're striving to pay out a penny per play. So whatever the crypto is worth, you get a stream. They'll give you that much of their crypto for that stream. And so the value of the currency started going up like dramatically as I was using it, because artists like Weezer and Deadmau5 and a bunch of other like big name artists were starting to put out exclusive releases on Audius, because it's this cool thing where it supports all ships instead of just paying people, and unproportionally so. Like Spotify pays like the top 10 artists in the world way more money than all the rest of them. So the way that Audius is doing it is that it pays you, and then as the platform increases in value, your payments, your royalties also increase in value along with the platform. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check it out. I don't know if they're going to be like podcast friendly if I were to release.
You can put
My,
anything on there, and the great thing is that it's wave quality. Like it's not a compressed MP3. It's like the full audio file that they're streaming to you for free. There's no payment ever.
yeah, no doubt. I'm gonna have to check that out then, like after like the podcast. But if you were to go on like Spotify or Apple Music, which distribution like would you pay for, like DistroKid or TuneCore or?
I'd actually probably stick with SoundCloud. They've been great for releasing the stuff, and they've just released some tools for promoting and releasing your music to things like Spotify, Apple Music, and then getting it onto some of the playlists, the curated playlists. So I'm big props to SoundCloud. They've been trying to up their game. I respect it. It's still got tons of flaws and it still sounds like garbage, but they're trying, and that's great. That's all they can do.
No doubt. So what was like the impact like when Obvious and like Hey, like which they're both demos, they reached between like 20K to 31K like streams?
Yeah, dude. That was a radio station in the States reposted and started playing those SoundCloud links on their radio station on a regular playlist. But it was just that one playlist. It was the January playlist, the first one I did. So you can notice like the start of the playlist has more plays and then the end of the playlist has less. I think it was just through that one. It's like, and that's what it really is, right? It's like every song, every playlist you make is a lottery ticket. You never know. And it's not about the numbers. It's great. It's cool. I'm glad that people are hearing the music. But at the end of the day, it's just like, I'm just going to keep making it. And you can come hang out. Come find me on Twitch.
Yeah, no doubt. Because like when someone has like a lot of like streams on like Spotify or SoundCloud or YouTube, most people like will usually like look for like a social media or like like a certain like platform page.
I'm horrible at social media. I'm the worst. I hate it. It drives me nuts. I don't like using my Instagram. I don't have a Facebook. It's just like, I don't want that stuff. Twitch is cool because I don't have to think about posting things. I turn it on and I do my thing. That's about as far as I'm willing to go with it.
No doubt. Like I think like there's this like one saying that goes like you don't need to be Instagram famous, but when you're Twitch famous, it matters, you know? So
Hopefully, like the thing is with Instagram is it's so fake. It's like everyone's posting these perfect performances of themselves. Everyone's posting these edited photos and like making it look like they're in a place when they're not. And it's just like I don't like it. Whereas like on Twitch, the person is there and you can just check by chatting with them and like they will respond to you and you're like, oh, he's actually right there right now talking to me. It's really hard to be fake then. Or you have to be a really good actor, I think, if you were going to be fake on Twitch.
yeah. I think for me too, like when I noticed using like Instagram, like because I actually made an Instagram account like for the first time in like back in like 2012. So that's how I got into like Instagram, like in high school. And I would just post like random photos. So I never really knew the algorithm like of Instagram at that time too, just like posting like random photos and then deleted my account. Like I noticed like when trying to follow like people on Instagram, they wouldn't follow back. So I never really knew the algorithm like at that time too. And then I started finding out like months and like years later like on how it works. Deleted IG account and then got my IG back sometime like in like
You gotta look at the algorithm for sure, and that's why I haven't posted anything on TikTok. And TikTok is probably the one I'm most excited to post to, because the first thing people do on TikTok is turn on the sound, right? Which is something that is the opposite on Instagram. The first thing I do on Instagram is turn off the sound on my phone. I don't want to hear that shit. So like TikTok is kind of interesting in that it's really appealing to musicians, right? Or like music content, which is great. And I'm very, very interested in the algorithm because it learns you really quickly. Like at first it was just showing me hot girls because I think it was like it knew that I was a dude. And it's like, you're gonna like hot girls. It's like, no, I don't want to see this stuff. I want to see people playing crazy things and like music. I want to see all that stuff. And then it did. It started showing me that stuff, and now it only shows me that stuff. It's great. But the algorithm for posting is your first three go out to everyone, right? It's not just people who might like your stuff, which is where the algorithm takes it. It's like, okay, we've identified that your TikTok is a music-based TikTok. So now when you make something, we're going to suggest it to people who like that stuff. But the first three go out to literally everyone. So you got to be really careful with your first three posts on TikTok.
yeah, no doubt. I think that's why I have like two accounts on IG, like my regular one, which I felt bad for exposing for a bit too because like I'd say that like I don't really post on my regular account and then the TLOY page where it's strictly like business like content like all the way too. So I kind of like noticed like two different like sides. Like for me, like on my regular one, like I'm not trying to post anything unless it's something like interesting. But then with the regular
Versus the
page,
professional image.
yeah,
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 for real.
no doubt. So like you already discussed like how you like got into Twitch, by performing and creating music online, but with the controversies that come with it, like I think there were people that banned like certain like users.
Amaranth, all these ASMR girls who are just, it's so close to porn that it's crazy. I get why it's a controversy, but like, I mean, just don't watch it. If you don't want to see it, like, just don't watch it. Like, why is it offending you? Just don't watch it. It's really simple. It's really easy.
Yeah, but like what I noticed too is that they ban like certain words on like Twitch. Like if you call
Mm.
someone like an incel, or if you call someone like a virgin or some other like BS, you automatically like get banned or something like that. So how do you feel about people being banned or doxxed on Twitch, or commenters if they use like certain words like online?
Yeah, like there's got to be something for freedom of speech, but then there's also got to be something against hate speech. Like just straight up insulting people isn't doing anything. It might be entertaining, but then like make sure that that's very obvious that that's what it is. It's a roast. You know, come in here, I'm gonna roast you. That's fine. Like just make sure that people are expecting it because people get offended very easily these days. You gotta be really careful. I make a very strong point of when I'm referring to my channel saying we, and when I'm referring to somebody saying they, and just to cover my bases, you know. I don't want to I don't want to stir up any controversy on Twitch.
No doubt. So like how do you stay consistent in releasing music? Like what are your like plans on like how you do it?
I'm just leaning on my years and years and years of instrumental skill and songwriting practice. Song Week has been hard. It's really hard because not every one of them is good. And that's something that is really ego bruising for a lot of artists who only release like quote unquote good music. Um, but I'm about this new saying is lower your standards and raise your average. So it's like if I allow some of my songs to be worse, I'm going to get better at making songs because I'm making more songs. And it's just practice, right? So it's like a song a week is really good practice at making a song. And I would say like if you listen through my playlist in chronological order, go from like the very first one all the way to the very last one, the sound quality is getting better. The songwriting is getting a little bit more focused as opposed to a little bit more ambiguous. Um, but yeah, it's also that the size of the Twitch chat is growing. So at first it was largely just me trying to speed run a song, and now I've got this hive mind who's constantly throwing rhymes at me or like throwing suggestions for themes for like next week's song. Or it takes a lot of the quote unquote creativity, sorry, the writer's block thing out of it. You know, it's like I don't ever feel like I have writer's block anymore, which is great.
Yeah, no, I definitely know what you mean too. So, like getting into these debates that I had in mind. So, where do you stand on the laptop versus PC desktop debate, and where do you stand on the Mac versus PC debate?
Well, I've got two Macs, so but I really like PCs. I'm not like I don't I don't want to knock them because they're really I would probably actually prefer a PC for the streaming PC. Something where I can install some good graphics cards and capture cards and stuff and just get it running my stream. But for music production, I use Mac and I have forever. And it's like everyone I know does as well. And there's got to be something to be said for that because like why don't you see a PC laptop on stage? You just never do, right? It's always a Mac laptop on stage. And it's because they're a Unix system. It's really, really reliable. It's not going to crash on you. And I use Ableton Live, and I use the previous version of Ableton Live when I'm playing live, and I use the current version of Ableton Live when I'm in the studio, because the previous one is more stable than the current one. But it's just you're maximizing stability. It's an instrument. It's got to not fail. You know. So Mac on stage, and right now I've got two Macs, one running my production and one running my stream. The one that's running my stream is like a little Mac Mini. It's kind of underpowered and it's whatever. It's a desktop, but I would prefer to have a PC for that for sure.
Yeah, no, I definitely know what you mean. I think for me, I've been like so used to like using like PC all my life. So like even like when I decided to buy like a PC, like like laptop for the first time, so because like my other laptop like I got from university, which is like Lenovo, which is kind of like outdated, like a Lenovo like 2014 laptop, very outdated if you're trying to like use it as like a regular like laptop. So went to Staples for the first time too, and then I actually asked one of the clerks like, hey, what would be like your best like laptop for like video production and for everything like that? You're either gonna go with a well-established Mac, or you're gonna go with a gaming laptop, and then
Hmm.
because they have like higher RAMs and all that.
GPUs clocked and tuned to it. Yeah, no, for real. And like I grew up with PC too. I grew up making music on the family PC. And I would crash it all the time. I'd get the blue screen of death, and I would just like, this is nuts. Like, why can't it just work? And I got really frustrated in the mid 2000s with the state of PC hardware slash software incompatibility. And so I moved over to a Mac as soon as I went to university, and I was like, oh, this is so much better. It doesn't crash on me when I'm recording things. And so then I've just been using Mac for music production, but and totally would go back to Windows and a PC build for streaming. I think that it's more value for the bucks, you know?
Yeah. Like right now, I have like an MSI GL like 65 by 95 C, so that's a gaming laptop, but I also use it for video production too. Even if the RAM is sort of like in the mid section, like 8 gigs, it's worth it. Like in some cases too, you could play. almost any game like dated back to like the mid like 2010s, like mid late 2010s. Like I don't know if you could play like 2020 or 2021 base gaming.
It won't run Cyberpunk. But not even PS4 runs Cyberpunk, so I think you're good.
Yeah, no doubt. As far as other stuff, what is your best software to use for streaming and like creating music, as well as for better cameras or lighting equipment?
Oh, cool. I like this question. So I've got two pretty bright lights. I've got three GoPros running in here. I've got one up over my piano. I got one down for like the guitar cam for when I'm teaching or like doing a solo on stream. People want to see what I'm doing. And then I've got the front facing like face cam that ends up going up in the corner. And then I usually run Ableton when I'm on Twitch. I'll probably run Pro Tools if I ever end up bringing the stream into a studio. I do have Logic because a lot of the artists that I work with and do production for, they send me Logic files. And I've had Logic forever. I actually grew up with Logic as my first DAW. Well, GarageBand into Logic, in university. Cubase on my family PC, but that was just brief. Let's not talk about Cubase. um, but yeah, so Ableton Pro Tools, I think would be my go-tos for recording software. I use these machine learning plugins from Isotope called Neutron, Ozone, and Nectar for doing a lot of my processing, a lot of my EQs and compressions and stuff like that for mixing. It's really cool. It uses machine learning algorithms, and it's listened to a ton of, like, say, for example, bass guitar. And it's heard bass guitar before editing, and then it's heard bass guitar after editing. And it then listens to your bass guitar before editing, and it does the reverse. It goes like, well, this is what it should sound like after editing. And it just like infers that stuff. It sets you up with a pretty basic EQ, compression, saturation, like 80% good enough. And then from there you can tweak to your own taste, but it saves you and like an hour per instrument of just like sitting there and tweaking all this stuff. And it does it pretty fast. And this is why I'm able to do a song a week, is the technology is just getting so good. Saves so much time. There's so many like hacks and corners you can cut. I've learned one thing doing the song a week. It's that the only thing that matters in the mix is the vocals and the drums. Everything else is it's just there. It can be good. It can be not. It just has to be there. It's the noise, right? It's giving it some vibe and stuff. But like really need to hear the words and you got to feel the beat. That's really what it is.
Yeah, no, definitely. And as we're getting to part three, which talks about like other topics, I have like a lot of like interesting thoughts that I have like now, and then also that I didn't add before. So, McDonald's Canada, I think on August 31st, I think people were wondering what would be like coming to McDonald's Canada. People thought the McRib, the McPizza. Unfortunately, it's spicy McNuggets, but they're still good either way.
They're pretty good. I'll
Yeah.
take the spicy McNuggets. I was hoping for the McRib. The McPizza would have been a throwback. I haven't seen a McPizza since I was like 12 years old. You know, that's been a while since there's been McPizza. But that used to be I used to like those little personal pizzas. They were good. So
Yeah.
they can bring those back. That would be awesome. But McRib, special place in my heart.
Mm.
The
Uh,
spicy nuggets, I love spicy food, and then like I do not do well with spicy food. Like I get like servers coming over to me when I'm eating like suicide wings at a restaurant. I mean, like, are you okay? Do you need a hospital? Like, no, I'm fine. I just love this so much, and I'm like sweating and crying and stuff. But it's like inside, I'm happy. Happy.
no doubt. Also like the big extra too. I mean, I was like kind of like around at that time, like when it came out. Like I don't know if it's the McPizza because that was like more of a 1990 something. I was like born in like 96, so I wouldn't really realize when the pizza came by, but I knew when the big extra came by. But in my opinion, the big extra is just a McDonald's version of the Whopper, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. I don't know if I've ever had one, but I've seen it and I was like, it looks like a Whopper.
Yeah, me too. Like I never really realized the taste or anything like that. I know some people might like it. You
What's your
have
go-to
some
McDonald's order? Like one's like a
uh
quarter pounder.
as a kid, like when I was like a kid back then, when our family would go to McDonald's, I would usually go with the McChicken with fries and a Coke, but it then like switched up, for health reasons to sometimes a quarter pounder with cheese with fries and a Sprite or an ST, or a Big Mac with fries and an ST. I never really ate like many like Happy Meals, like maybe like one here, one there, but we didn't really had that like in our childhood because I think we stopped doing that like when we were like 5 or 6, because like what's inside there, it's just a plastic.
It's awful. And like, yeah, you get the plastic toy in the Happy Meal, but then you also get like the plastic food in the Happy Meal too. It's not good for us. We willingly consume these things and we think they're delicious, and then they slowly kill us all.
I know what you mean. I mean, even when these McDonald's rollouts came for like the Travis Scott meal, the J
Oh
Balvin
yeah,
meal,
right.
the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sweetie meal, like they never really had it in Toronto besides the BTS one. I think like for the main reason too that you could easily like order these foods at other McDonald's places. So like, let's say the Sweetie meal, which is like what, a Big Mac, chicken nuggets, fries, a sweet and sour, and a barbecue with a Sprite. You can order the same thing to like just not using the code, but you can assemble it just like as your own too. Even like with the J Balvin and like Travis Scott meals, like you could just order a double quarter pounder with bacon, like bacon and lettuce, and then get barbecue sauce with the fries, and then also the Sprite too. So
It's pretty marketing genius though. Like, to like get these stars as orders and then like turn them into combos. It's just good promo for both sides. It's great. Some marketing guy got a raise for sure.
and I mean also too, I think because even with the Popeyes chicken sandwich,
My
like
favorite.
yeah, it's still pretty good too. Like it came like around like 2019 for America, but we didn't really get ours until like last
Pandemic.
year. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I remember it was like, well, at least there's Popeyes, and there's one really close to me, so like that was dangerous. I've put on a little bit of weight. I like to like stay fit and healthy. I like to play hockey still. I like to rock climb and like do things that are engaging, but like not having access to any of those activities and not having a home gym, and I probably wouldn't use a home gym even if I had access to one. It's been hard because things like Popeyes chicken sandwiches are just so delicious.
I definitely know what you mean too. Like, I think throughout the pandemic, I explored other places. Learning how to cook. Or like also like
Hmm.
learning which good food places are actually very good. Like I bought like more local stuff. Like
Yeah,
nowadays,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Um, but I like for the pandemic, like how like aside from music, how has it like affected you in like any form, and what did you do to get back on track? Aside from the music stuff.
Oh, it's been tough, man. Like being a musician through this has been hard. Like watching the thing that you value the most, kind of like the industry just spiral into nothingness and just like be put on pause. It's been hard. And like, it played the odd like live stream gig and like other things like that. It's been hit here and there, but it's not like what it used to be for sure. So that's been tough. It's been hard on the mental health aspect of stuff. Just like, I'm such a social person. I love to be, I like when my work feels like a party. That's why I became a musician. I want to be up on stage, and now that's my office. And like in front of me, there's a party happening. That's what I want. And so just being like stuck inside, everything's locked down, friends don't want to hang. It's been tough. Yeah, for sure.
No, I definitely agree too. I feel like it had hit me too because as I said, like the last concert I shot was Ali Brooke, and then I kind of got into like a little bit of a depression for a bit too, like throughout like March until I guess June for a bit, and then started getting back up like in the summertime too, like with a lot of stuff going on. But I'd say like it only went up like later on for a bit, and then like now it's like back to normal. But for
Summer
other people,
helped.
yeah, for other people too, like it ruined a lot of things. Like I know like gym rats who are like so big on the gym too, they couldn't go like at that time. I mean, like they had to make like home gyms, which I guess it's okay, but then sometimes if you're working out in a condo, like you're gonna have like neighbors like downstairs or upstairs, and it'll either annoy you or it'll like annoy them, and then like
Exactly,
run.
dude.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, no, and it's like I'd question your sanity if you didn't struggle with some form of depression or anxiety or something like that during the pandemic. Like it's been hard for everyone, and that's what everyone's got to realize is that this has been bad for literally everyone.
About. But I did feel like the pandemic made some people infamous and some people like famous, like with
Bezos.
Teresa Tam. Like I've seen her get more coverage nowadays too, every day, like on CB24 and like also like city news or CTV. A lot of these like health advisors
Yep.
and these like doctors, like they're getting the shine now.
Celebrities. Yeah, yeah. They're the new rock stars. Dr.
Yeah.
Fauci, man.
Uh-huh. And it made some people infamous, like Chris Guy, the weasel looking dude, spreading like misinformation and all other like BS. People don't listen to him.
There's just so much of it out there. How are we going to tackle that problem? We can't trust the facts anymore, and that's a problem. I don't know how to fix it. I'm not that smart. I make music. But if somebody much smarter than me can get on that would be great because this is a huge problem.
Yeah, nah, it's pretty tough because there's literal people like out there spreading like misinformation on many
Yeah, yeah.
things to like causing like disturbances like at John Tory's like home, Rob Ford's home, like you have like these anti-vaxxer, anti like lockdown protesters yelling like freedom, freedom, like in the streets. Even though you have the freedom to walk, you have the freedom to do whatever you want, as opposed to actual people that dealt with like slavery and being in the prison system, like sorry to rumble in,
Exactly. Yeah, no,
like that
exactly.
really couldn't get like the freedoms like that at that time too, like even
Perspective.
like even if you're like in the system like as a felon or as someone like incarcerated too, your freedom is actually like gone, like so that's the definition of people losing their freedom, not some random 35 to like 55 something year old like white guy or like white other person like balding like with gray hair, like not going to some random resort in Cuba or Thailand.
Where are they getting their information? This is what I want to know. Is like who's feeding? Is it Facebook? I think let's find out the root of this problem and let's just like rip it out because you're right. It's like they believe that they're right. And like the other side believes that they're right and nobody's like just looking at the actual facts. Like what? And this is like my own opinion, right? Is like but we should trust the scientific community. These are literally the best brains we have. Sure, some of them are going to be bought. Some of them are going to have, talking points and stuff that they're being paid to say because everything's a business. But these are the people that we've trusted and have worked their whole life to be experts at this stuff. And we're just like, nah. It's so stupid.
Yeah, no doubt. And then like the people like co-signing the anti-vaxxers, you have like what Maxime Bernier, who's supposed to run this election, which I doubt he's gonna win too. And like I guess Aaron O'Toole, those
Oh
two.
man, he
Yeah,
scares me. They all scare me. There's no good candidates. Maybe this is the problem with politics. Nobody cares enough because all these candidates are horrible. My favorite NDP, you know, but like unfortunately the area I live in, it's never gonna happen. So I have to vote strategically. That's not how democracy should work,
yeah,
right? Like my vote's not gonna matter unless I vote this way.
yeah,
That's stupid.
yeah. Like in my opinion too, I feel like this election was just like not like right now, but like just like with this election going on, I feel like it's being like forced, instead of being a gradual like process, because I think Trudeau.
Yeah, he messed up. He messed up. Like he thinks that he can snag a majority again by doing this now, but everyone's really mad at him for doing it now because it's like we're going into a fourth wave, like school's back, and like now you want to call an election? What are you thinking?
And then you're gonna have like so many people like hating on you with the radical like right, and then also
It's gonna
with the people.
backfire.
Yeah, I
It's
feel
gonna
like
backfire.
yeah, I do feel like sin like Jagmeet might have a chance too, but then
I
sometimes
hope.
there could be like some inconsistencies on like how he approaches certain things too. I know Anne Marie Paul, definitely not a chance. Even though I
Yeah,
would be excited.
she's great. I would love to see her as our prime minister, but there's no chance, right? She runs the Green Party. Like the liberals and the conservatives have a chokehold. It's crazy. I think that'll change as some of the older people uh start not existing anymore. They're very much like entrenched in their ways. They were raised one way or the other. They were raised conservative or they were raised liberal, right? But now there's like a bunch more free thinkers that are kind of coming up. And they're just like, no, I'm going to vote for the person who best, represents me and has the best policy. I think that would be, ideal instead of having like just these like families of one type of thing.
Yeah, nah, I get what you mean. So just to speak more on this whole like pandemic process, passports, yay or nay?
I mean, like, I'm pro science and vaccine, but I also understand, and it's like we're an experiment. It's like straight up, they did not test it enough. I had some pretty mild reactions. They were all treatable to the vaccine, but I got it. I felt it like it was my duty, if they think that this is going to work, then let's do literally whatever we can. And people are worried about like what's in the vaccine. Like, are you kidding me? You eat McDonald's. Like, I've put worse things up my nose. This is like real. you know, this is science. It's like we can trust it a little bit. We can trust it more than we can trust like a drug dealer. I think.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I feel like for me, in my opinion too, I am kind of mixed about it too because if it does happen, like, will it lead to like other like establishments like, requiring a vaccine
I'm
passport?
nervous. I'm nervous about it for
Like,
sure. But I want to play live gigs.
uh,
so
yeah, because imagine like if a McDonald's or like a Costco or a Walmart will ask for vaccine passports, and some people might not have phones, or some people might not have access to a printer or to anywhere else, and if they don't get it, like in that sense too, you can't really go into the restaurant and
can't
uh,
participate in
yeah,
society. Like that's ridiculous. You're
yeah,
totally right. That's
yeah,
insane.
and
Now,
yeah,
optional things like a concert, I would say like, make that thing, but like a restaurant or like food, like grocery stores, like you can't limit the access to those things. Those are like essential.
yeah,
But like something like a concert, you could totally say like you're not getting in without a COVID passport.
yeah,
Like, if you're worried about not having a phone and stuff, you have bigger problems than not seeing a concert.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, nah, like I would like look into it like a little more further. I do feel like if they do lead it on to having it at these places, then I feel like it won't really benefit like anyone, like unless you're getting like the double jab in that sense. And sometimes like nowadays too, like it's the same thing for Presto, where because like when Presto was like first introduced, people didn't really like it because people kind of preferred like the tokens, the tickets that they could buy with their like good earned cash or their hardworking
People
cash.
don't like change. People do not like change. It's like no
uh
matter what it is, right? They just resist it at every. It's
yeah,
crazy. Like, but
but
this will be better. Presto is better.
nah, yeah, I think like with Presto, it's kind of like the Canadian version of the MTA card. Like if you've been to New York, they've had like
hmm
MTA cards since the beginning of time, and you could like refill your money, pay with whatever amount you have, like with cash or with credit or with debit, depending on the way. And it's just basically the same thing too. But I feel like a lot of people, like especially in Toronto, are kind of used to paying with the token or paying with the ticket because it's sort of like a way to not think too much on how to like reload or how to get used to technology, especially with seniors and with people like in lower income communities. Like not a lot of people can get access to a Presto like that unless they have the money for it. But like that depends. Am I gonna spend, my hard earning money on groceries and the rent, or am I gonna spend it on some like plastic card in that sense?
Right. Yeah. So like you could do it better, like anything, right? Have you ever been to Japan? My last trip before the pandemic was to Japan. I was there to do some snowboarding and some music stuff. And there they have this transit card that works in their taxis, it works in their grocery stores, it works in their vending machines, it works. Some stores will even take this as a form of payment. And it's so smart because you have these like very highly independent children running around Tokyo with this basically like a preloaded credit card that works in all these places. They can stop and get lunch with it. They can grab a snack from the vending machine. They can get on the subway and then get in a cab and go to their piano lesson and then get in, it all works with this one card. And it's like, this is really smart. They really don't like credit cards there in Japan, which is also probably because they had a huge debt crisis back in the 90s and probably learned their lesson, which I don't think the rest of society has learned yet. We're all, especially here in Canada, we're all crazy debt burdened. It's insane.
Yeah. Definitely gonna have to find out more about that. Just like with these last two questions. So I know that you've encountered like a lot of things in life, such as like playing in a porn band, but what were some other like crazy or interesting things that you've encountered like outside of like music or Twitch?
Rock climbing has like been a great way to explore the world. And when I was 30, I did 30 different places around the world. I did all these travels and got in a van. And I used to like, this was back when I wasn't really a singer anymore. This was after cancer. Um, and so this a couple years ago. And we went around to all these different crags. Crags are like the places where you climb. And traveled to these 30 different places around the world, and I got a tattoo about it. So that was kind of fun. I liked that a lot. I like setting myself challenges, kind of like doing a song a week and then like committing to it. At the end of this, it's going to become a job. Like I'm now on song 37 on the stream, and it's starting to become a grind. I'm getting better at it, but it's starting to be, it's like, okay, we got to do another one. We're on the home stretch here. Want to get one a week for a full year. But yeah, so like I like setting challenges and then sticking through them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, so that would be alpinism. This is rock climbing. So rock climbing is like much shorter, just like outdoor with a rope, and you go up maybe like 30, 40 feet and you come down. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Some people are mountaineers, and those people are hard people. Those people try hard and like suffer. They're cool.
This one crazy story that I had, like that kind of falls similar to the whole like rock climbing, like mountain type thing. So I was actually doing like work at a hotel, and one of our jobs was to like watch the people for them to climb down like off of like a 40-50 story building. And this was the Westin Harper Castle, so like literally just by Queens Quay. So you have like all these people, so it's like based out of this program that they have to not be afraid of their fears, to not be afraid of anything. So I think one of the fears was like heights. And you have like literal like grown folk like coming in to like 50-60 stories up, climbing down like on these like windows, to face their fears and all that. And like the other guy told me like, you have to be comforting, you have to like actually like care for them, even though it is like kind of weird, because it's a way for them to give them encouragement in that sense too, like saying a certain word or saying a certain thing, people will get like offended by that. I said I really didn't speak at all, like I just like just shaked my head for a bit too,
just
so
just do it. Yeah, I know. So facing your fears is important. It's hard sometimes, but it's always worth it
yeah,
for sure.
no
Yeah,
doubt.
yeah.
I mean,
Um,
yeah. What were you about to say?
oh, it's all good.
Yeah, no. I actually like when they actually finished, you see a lot of them like actually like bawling like in tears, actually like crying, in joy, because they've never experienced, something like that too. And like they go back again, do the same thing too, and you see a weird transition like in that sense too. You see people feeling more confident or feeling more good about themselves too. And this is like literally like back in like 2018. And it was interesting too, because you never really realize people having these fears until you actually meet them too. Like I know some people, they're afraid of like death, or some people are
I'm afraid of
afraid.
doctors.
Yeah. Uh, but yeah, I mean, like facing your fears is like very important in that sense too. Just rationalizing the ideal and realizing that we only live like in a day. Tomorrow's like not really promised. So trying these certain things and learning about these ideals, you understand like a better part of life or a better understanding of life. And then, when it's over, it's over, So if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. So that's the game of life.
That's it. That's it right
Yeah.
there. Yeah, man.
So just to end it off, any closing remarks you would like to say?
I'll just appreciate having you on, and it's really fun having a chat. It was good to meet you, and I'm really excited to see where your podcast goes, man. This is what, episode 6. You're gonna do well at this.
Yeah, the crazy thing is that episode 1 was actually on YouTube with this rapper out of Atlanta named Zad Vibes. Episode 2, I think, yeah, episode 2 was based off of YouTube discussing this list that I have of like the top male and female rappers out of Toronto within spring of like 2021. Did that. Episode 3 and 4, actually, yeah, episode 3 was with Ed the Sock, which you could find in all
I
platforms.
listened to that one. That was good. Threw me back to the nostalgia. His Fromage show is like my favorite. I used to watch that every day after school.
Yeah, true. And then episode 4 was with Robert Douglas, who executive producer and musician. You can check it out like on all platforms. Episode 5 would be Ethan of the Boogie Boards, based out of like North Carolina. Pretty dope guy. I had a lot of good discussions about like Nirvana and such, and I would guess this would be episode
Love
6.
Nirvana.
Uh,
One of my favorite, probably most influential bands. Them and the Beatles.
yeah, no doubt. So, well, Ryan, thank you for coming by, and it was a pleasure to speak with you.
Likewise, appreciate it.
We'll definitely talk more soon. And for everyone watching, thank you for tuning in to TLOY Talks episode 6 with Will Ryan. It will be released on all platforms soon. And what I mean by all platforms, YouTube, SoundCloud, Sounder, and Buzzsprout, if it actually works out. And you'll definitely have to like, comment, subscribe, or just tune in that sense too. And maybe even Audible too. Like, I'd have to look into more of that. But yeah. But this is Josh, also known as Yashu, signing off.